Welcome to the Catholic Cafe, where Catholic truth is served fresh daily. We've made you a reservation in the luxurious corner booth, so come on in and see what's on the menu today. Now, here's your host, Deacon Jeff Drzymski.
Greetings and welcome to the Catholic Cafe. I'm Deacon Jeff, sitting in the luxurious corner booth of the Catholic Cafe. I've got Venerable Tom Dorian here.
Yes, sir.
And we've got Ziggy Rodriguez.
That's me.
Not quite venerable, but we have hope. And we are going to do a very different show today. We have never done this in our many years of the Catholic Cafe.
15 plus.
15 plus years, almost 800 episodes. Wow. This is the first time we've ever done this. We're doing a movie review.
Ooh.
I know. And so just like those... we
haven't even prepped for this either, have we?
No, we really have. Well, we have.
This will be fun.
We went to the movie.
Well, we haven't really talked about it. We haven't talked about it.
I want to be clear about this. We all just sort of like went to the Cabrini movie. We didn't get special passes. Mm-hmm. We didn't get special preview passes. We didn't get to go ahead, sit with like the muckety muck of the review world.
Well, I hate to tell you this,
the intelligentsia. You did.
Bad news, man. I did. Yeah, I got special treatment.
Well, he's venerable, though.
Really?
Yeah, they saw the hair and they're like, "Oh, dude, you're getting popcorn tonight."
Okay, I don't doubt that, Tom. Thanks for sharing that. So Tom he's just coming clean.
Just burst your bubble, brother.
Yeah, I mean the most I got was I got free refills on my popcorn. So yeah. I mean I got that. And I don't know if that was special treatment or not.
See, I was asked to leave. So.
Yeah, well, I get that too. That's not your first run-in with the establishment. But so we're not professional reviewers. We're not. So we're just kind of like ordinary, everyday moviegoers, and we just all three of us saw this movie and then started
Sam
talking.
And I are. You're not, man. You're an expert when it comes to film.
No, I am not an expert. I love movies.
Okay?
I'm actually movies. Kind of a film buff myself, Tom.
Okay,
actually, yeah.
But the point,
but you're a filmographer.
Yeah, I mean, okay, just because I had a Super 8 camera doesn't make me like all of a sudden Steven Spielberg.
You might not realize this. I actually have a background in scrning, and film's been a part of my life for a long time. So yeah.
Oh, okay. See, so you're the only dolt at the table. Is all I'm saying. No. I mean, I studied. I had film classes in college.
Okay.
I mean, but I will say that I love movies and I pay attention, and I've got favorite directors, and I've got favorite films, and some of them I don't necessarily like what they call art films. I don't really get into the weird.
I actually love those.
I know you do. Fellini's 8.5 and all that stuff. I know you do.
La Strada is actually my favorite Fellini, but yes.
Yeah. Okay. Move down the table further from me. No, I get it. No, and there's nothing wrong with that. I just, that's not who I am.
Right.
So actually, then that's kind of cool. You guys got three different. Yeah. Because like one of my favorite film is It's a Wonderful Life.
Yep. That's actually pretty close for me. Okay. Is favorite. I mean, it's how can you get better than It's a Wonderful Life? It is like a perfect film.
Is that artsy enough though, Sam?
You know what?
It has its moments.
It has its moments.
Well, you know what? Frank Capra. I read his autobiography, The Man Above the Name Above the Title, mm-hmm. and I love because I just love Frank Capra.
Well, and something about It's a Wonderful Life is in terms of favorite film, yes. Like in terms of, is this the greatest film of all time, greatest execution of cinematic mastery? No, I'm not going to necessarily say that. But in terms of like favorite film,
there's
a film that
several bad jump cuts in that movie, about it, just so we're all clear.
But a film that has like just been with my heart all my life and has instructed my heart and has fed my heart every single time I've watched it in a way that's unique to that film. I can't help but give it a highly elevated status.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it deserves it. And then another favorite film of mine is E.T. And I don't know about what you think about the politics of Steven Spielberg, but he is an excellent director, and I love his. There's not many auteurs that are really left in the film business, and because an auteur is the guy that's like he's the author of the film, like everything about that film is it's him, his fingerprints on everything. Frank Capra was one, Howard Hawks was another, and so I know some of those John Ford, exactly.
That's my guy.
Yeah, so you like westerns, John Wayne.
Yeah, but you know what? He did some great non-westerns.
Well, you're exactly right.
Green Was My Valley.
Grapes of Wrath, right? Didn't he do that? So look. Okay, we've just impressed everybody with our film knowledge.
Yes, we have.
But we went, all three of us, not at different times, mm-hmm. went to Cabrini, the movie. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're going to talk about is Cabrini. Angel Studios put this movie out just this year, so it's 2024 flick. and it's directed by Alejandro Monteverde, who he also did The Sound of Freedom, and he's done a couple of other movies. And I was amazed about something, not about the film. I enjoyed my film experience. I was amazed at just how divisive this film has become.
Yeah.
I was quite shocked by that, because I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to jump to the end of my review and go like, well, I left the film kind of pleasantly. I was impressed.
I bet you it's divisive though in the Catholic world.
I don't know.
How about outside the Catholic world?
Yeah, I don't hear many. Yeah, the secular
Okay.
world, I don't hear as many complaints about it. I mean, frankly, it's been very well received by secular critics. It's last I checked, it's above 90% on from critics and 98% from audiences, and some secular critics gave a negative review like. Saints are boring, and the people from Angel Studios took that and they used that for their ads, which is kind of a funny move that they made. But overall, I would say outside, you bring up a good point. The divisiveness is not from the secular world. Now, I think part of it is because it was created, and we'll talk about this, I think, for a secular audience. It wasn't created for a Catholic audience, which is why you've got these Catholic moviegoers so angry about the result, I think, in part. But you're right, Deacon Jeff. I mean, it is intense. It almost feels like it's as intense as like the election politics and stuff like that.
I know. It's like maybe
crazy.
that's part of like, because this is going to be an election year and it's going to be a really weird election year.
Yeah.
It's already starting to spill over into things, But I started thinking like, when people were saying what they were saying, I was like, well, whoa, back up just a little bit.
Yeah.
Really? I was overwhelmed with like some of the negative stuff. Now, and then at the same time, then people feel like they have to counter that, so it becomes like overtly positive stuff.
Yes.
So it becomes like left and right, and you're on my team or off. It's like, are you on like team good or team bad? And it's like, and it's not just that they thought the film was bad. It's like no one says it's evil.
I've actually seen people say that it's evil or blasphemous or
I have
sacrilegious.
not seen it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
Well, he lives online.
Yeah.
Ziggy is like an online creature, and he stays up all night with like bleary eyes, bloodshot eyes, and he's got his like his Diet Coke sitting there and all night long, and he'll sit there, And
Actually, I travel into it like Neo from The Matrix.
I know you do. I don't doubt that. You plug in
and get into online fights.
I know.
See it?
Yeah, and there's like he sits there and it's like there's cigarette smoke wafting through his room and he doesn't even smoke. That's how intense it is. And so there's like a lot of folks are doing that, and I don't do that, but I've heard some things. And I'm like going, wow, I that was not my take at all. So I thought we would spend a little bit of time talking about it. The first thing I want to say about this film, the reason I went was because I want to encourage like good movies, like movies that people can go and see, and they're not going to be plagued, weighed down by, whether it's sex or violence or, let's say gratuitous sex and gratuitous violence. It's not weighed down by all of those things. It's not something you can take your family to, right? And not, or have a conversation with your 18-year-old daughter, and not be embarrassed. And, it was like, it was one of those movies. I thought like, well, that's pretty good. But I got to say this, the main reason I went to that movie, the first thing that I saw was the cinematography. So like in the trailer, I was looking at the trailer and I'm like going, okay, whoever made this movie, that's before I even knew it was Angel Studios, before I knew it was Alejandro Monteverde. And so then I found out, I want to give credit to Gorka Gomez Andrew, and he's the cinematographer for this film. So way to go, Gorka.
He did a great job.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful film. And because here's the thing, my wife and I, we see these films a lot. We'll watch them on TV, and they're the kind that like, they're all over Amazon and Netflix and that kind of stuff. You can see these movies, and we call them lovingly Christian movies, right? With quotes around it. These are Christian movies, which are movies that always have a positive Christian message. They're usually made by Protestants, and so it's not usually a Catholic Christian message, like Catholic specific. And so tends, like, a lot of times they'll be like, the acting's not quite so good. It's kind of okay. And the story's nice, but it's hard to get behind it for me because I've had too much, just a little bit of film class is enough to go like, that's bad act. I can't watch this. This is terrible. The acting is terrible. But listen to the words. Okay, I'll listen to the words, you know. And so that's what we call Christian movies. Right. And I thought this was going to be a Christian movie, but it's not. It's like well acted. The actress's name is Cristiana Delana, and she's from Naples. She's an Italian actress. Man, kudos. She did a great job. She really did a great job. And then they got some heavy hitters in that movie. John Lithgow and David Morse. A lot of people don't recognize him, but he was the Archbishop. Yeah. And it took me a while because he had his little round glasses and, you know, he had his little beanie hat on. And I was like, it's called a Zucchetto, by the way, for the people to start getting mad at me. You know, and it's like, I thought the acting was good. The story was well told. So, Sam, because you live online, you know, and these are your people, and I've only seen like the outskirts of some of this, you know, the fallout. Tell me like what people are saying, the people that are unhappy.
Okay, so the biggest criticism, and this includes from people who liked the film, like Father Mike Schmitz gave a review,
about 7.5 minute review. I saw it.
Yeah, overall he said he liked it, but at one point he said I wish there had been more God in the movie.
Yeah,
right?
Well, so that he gave the classic. It was the corporate sandwich. Now y'all know. Yeah. Listen to that phrase, corporate sandwich, and replace the word corporate with other words. Yeah. And this is a very common corporate way of doing things. You say something good. You say something good at the end, at the beginning, at the end, and the garbage, the bad stuff comes in the middle. Right. So he mentioned the God thing there in the sort of a lack of God.
Yes.
But he talks about where he cried through 3/4 of the movie because he had an advanced copy on a laptop. And he watched it like in his chapel.
So he brought it into the Lord's presence. And so where the Lord might not have been overtly present in the film, he brought it
into the Lord's
presence. Yes, I
agree. We couldn't do that at the theater.
We don't.
You can't have popcorn in the presence of the Lord, I think. I'm not sure.
Right, exactly. So I will say, so people were saying that you don't see her praying. And honestly, I had a couple of times.
Okay, she sat in the chapel.
She did, yeah.
She sat in the chapel and she didn't say anything.
Right.
For several minutes, she sat in a chapel.
Right.
Okay.
No.
So, because I've heard that complaint.
Yeah.
She didn't pray. It's like, okay, what was she doing in there?
Right.
Was she like thinking about the day's crossword puzzle and, you know, or was she thinking about what she was going to cook for dinner that night? Or was she maybe thinking to herself very solemnly and, I don't know, maybe she was praying.
And that there wasn't an emphasis on the person of Jesus and her relationship with Jesus or on the Sacred Heart devotion, and that you didn't, the name of the community wasn't mentioned, and you only saw at the very end, you saw the little symbol of the Sacred Heart at the end. And what people have said.
There were Sacred Heart images in the movie.
Yeah.
Like up on the shelf, there would be a Sacred Heart image.
And by the way, just to clarify, it's my understanding that the director is a Catholic. It is a serious Catholic. I don't know him personally.
I don't either, so I don't know whether he is or is not. And
that's been reported. I don't know. And so I know that Angel Studios is not a Catholic organization, right? And I know that they're trying to make films that are going to spread to a wide audience. So, like, one critique that I heard was that it creates the impression, it basically turns her into a social justice warrior, and it makes it where you can do all of this big stuff in the world without Jesus. And that
I agree with that, except for the without Jesus part, because I don't think it overtly says I don't need anybody else.
Right? I don't think it does.
It doesn't overtly say that. And now, I want to give credit where credit is due, and there are several people, like including my wife, who I do agree. I'm in the Father Mike Schmitz club in terms of if I had made the movie. Before she ever did every single major step that she had to do, I would show her discerning before the Blessed Sacrament or praying, if that's what she actually did. I would show that. I would want to make sure people understood the connection between what a great woman she was but also why she's a saint.
Yeah.
Not because she's a great woman and did great things, but because she was basically empowered by the Lord in her relationship with Jesus Christ. And that part I would have shown more overtly.
And there are people also who say it's very political. They say that it's like a liberal immigration policy, and it's pro-feminist and all this other stuff.
But I think it is.
Yeah.
I think there were several times. I'll say pro. I don't know about the feminism, but I will say this: they several times in that film, I thought they pandered to that side of things, like where they like towards the end where John Lithgow, as the mayor of New York, says, "You would have made a great man." And then the camera kind of zooms in on her face. It's like this dramatic moment where the camera, it actually trucks into her face, goes in close, and she says some, I can't remember the exact words, but it's basically like, no, a man couldn't have done what I'm doing, or whatever. A man could, can't do what a woman can do in this regard or whatever. And
we do believe in the feminine genius as
yes,
Catholics.
I know, but we don't believe that men can't do things because they're not women in terms of great things, right?
But there are certain things, there are certain excellences and perfections to a woman and to a man.
100% agree with that.
And
but
so I try to view it within that framework. But I understand why
you were being
wasn't
generous.
always thinking that way.
You were being generous. There were a couple times where I went like, okay, I would put that in the list of how, because it was very, very, very women centric.
Yeah.
And there were a couple of times where I think, again, as a filmmaker, you have choices and you choose things to tell a story, and then also to put your understanding of that story into the movie. So choice of shots, choice of angles, choice of characters, choice of lines, choice of focus, because you have this blank canvas that you can then start putting pieces on there. And so just like Da Vinci and the Mona Lisa, I mean, what colors he chose, the look on Mona Lisa's face, all these things are choices he made to tell some story, right? Well, so a director can do that as well. I just thought there were several times where it kind of went there.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of the moment in one of my favorite trilogies of all time is the Lord of the Rings trilogies, when the woman cuts off the head of the wraith, ring wraith.
Yeah.
And is the ring wraith the big beast, the squealy monster dragon thing?
You were talking about the Witch King, but with the.
But he cuts off the head. She cuts off the head.
Yeah.
And he says, "No man can blah blah blah," and she goes, "I am no man," and then slices off the head.
Sure.
That was done obviously to make all the women in the audience happy.
Sure.
Finally, men get to see what we can do. We can cut off the head of the serpent, and that's good. I just thought there were a couple of moments like that in this movie. It didn't destroy the movie for me.
Right. And on the immigration side of things, I mean, one thing that, because I heard a lot of people very upset about that, and it's like, well, first of all, the thing that people are upset about right now is illegal immigration, and the Italians who came in through Ellis Island, that was not illegal.
But what are people upset about with this movie?
They were saying that it's just a very basically
open borders thing?
Open borders type thing, and it's like that. There was not like a policy of saying that those were legal immigrants who came through.
Yeah, and I didn't get that. I didn't get that sense myself.
Yeah, and no one wants people treated badly. You know what I mean? And so I think that's a stretch, to be honest with you. I think sometimes we can project our own sort of political lenses and views on it, but. I was speaking.
But can I say, I don't want to interrupt you too much, but can I say, I think that we forget how poorly the Italians specifically, the Irish had their time, and they were poorly treated.
Right.
The
Polish, as well.
and us Poles, we're still treated that way. Although we have more jokes about us than anybody else. So, but the point is, the country really was not.
Generous.
We'll just say generous to
welcoming
to the Italians, and I didn't really I had forgotten that until I saw that and realized, man, if you were Italian, you couldn't do anything in New York.
Right.
I mean, literally, there were things that you couldn't do, and so it's. I don't think that was like pro open borders or anything.
I don't think so either. It was, by the way, it's very funny. The funniest line in the movie was the mayor of New York says, "This is the last time there's going to be an Italian festival in New York City." but so I got into this one dispute not dispute or dialogue with a woman she was a wonderful, holy woman, very strong opinions, extremely strong opinions on this movie. And here's something that I said to her, and this is kind of where my heart is with regard to the film.
Yeah.
I said, it seems to me that you and I are looking at this through very different lenses. I think that the film will introduce many non-Catholics and non-Christians to Mother Cabrini. And as a saint, she can intercede for those people and draw people to Christ in ways that the film does not. To paraphrase a French cardinal from the early 20th century, to be a witness does not consist in engaging propaganda nor even stirring people up, but in being a living mystery. It means to live in such a way that one's life would not make sense if God did not exist. And then, end quote. And I said, anyone who is drawn to look upon the life of Mother Cabrini and meaningfully reflect upon her life, it will become clear that her life would not make sense if God did not exist. However, it's a process to get to that point. And I believe that this film can be a first step in that process.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. Tom, what did you think about
I agree
the
with
movie?
that. Well, I thought the movie was really well done. I thought the film was really beautiful. I thought the acting was fantastic. I thought the casting was fantastic. I will tell you, in a funny aside, so my mom's side of the family is from Italy. That my grandmother immigrated with her family from Italy.
Wow.
Okay.
And their last name is Vittoria.
Okay. Oh, Victoria.
Same as the Vittoria
In the film.
So
Yeah.
I called my mom and said, Mom, I got good news and I got some funny news for you. She said, what's that? I said, Vittoria is in the film. It's a woman. It's named Vittoria. The funny news is she's a prostitute.
Yeah, that was a lovely story of redemption, by
Yes.
the way.
Yeah.
I don't know what became of Vittoria and whether she was an actual person in Cabrini's life or
Right.
whether... Because when they're making a movie, especially a biopic, they'll be condensing characters a lot and trying to give a character, may have several characters of history. They just don't have time to put every... It's not like a 4,000-page...
Right.
book that they're able to compose here. You've got somewhere between an hour and 3 hours to tell a story, and so you got to have to condense some things. So a lot of times characters are conglomerations of different people. And I don't know if Vittoria is really a person in her life or not.
Yeah, probably not.
Maybe I don't, but even so, it's still a beautiful story of redemption where someone who's living a certain life is attracted and drawn to Mother Cabrini and her nuns in a profound way, and then and it's never in that movie. You never see this Vittoria as like having this come to Jesus moment. You just see her like move from where she was at the beginning of the film to where she is at the end of the film. You're going like, that's a story that could be told.
Right.
That's a beautiful story.
She's drawn to change her life following the model of Mother Cabrini, you know, and Mother Cabrini is following the model of Christ. So it kind of reminds me of like Paul saying, imitate me like I imitate Christ, right? And the other thing that I would say is, and I think it's important for people who are angry that the film is more for a secular audience, in film, there has to be something called suspension of disbelief, right? And if you create, and what that means is, you have to, when your audience has to be willing to suspend disbelief and believe the reality of the film. And we live in a culture right now where in the secular world, there are people who they might be willing to suspend disbelief about dragons. They might be willing to suspend disbelief about ghosts and every kind of unusual thing in the world. But if they're not willing to suspend disbelief about Christ being God made flesh, okay? And that's the world that we live in, and these are the people who are most important to reach and to touch and to communicate the stories and truth of the faith to, right? And so if you create a film where the ethos requires you to believe that Christ is the Lord made, is God made flesh, then at the end of the day, people are going to check out and they're going to say, well, this movie is not for me and I'm not going to watch it.
Yeah.
But if you don't require that on the front end and you create something beautiful and compelling, then people can be drawn into that space not even realizing that they've been drawn into that space. And so I think it's actually very important that the film was created in the way that it was for a secular audience.
Yeah.
Speaking as a Catholic.
I
Yeah.
don't think you can top that. I think
No.
the show's over. Good day,
No, I think,
Good day sir.
Well, amazingly, we're towards the end of the show, and Sam, mysteriously took us there. And the thing is, I agree, Sam. At the end of the day, I don't know if that was their intent, that was their purpose. I don't know if that was their mission. In fact, I guess we should talk about their mission because I don't know what it is, other than what their website states. Angel Studios wants to make movies that like families can go to, like just good movies. So, and here's the thing, I do not believe that their intent with this movie was to make more Catholics. Mm-hmm. That's not what their intent is. I know that. The founders of Angel Studios, four of the guys are brothers, the Harmon brothers. They're Mormons, and I this is not a theologically Mormon movie.
Right.
But it's not anti-Catholic either. I think in a lot of ways, they just don't know all the things we know as Catholics that go into becoming a saint, that go into becoming a follower of Jesus Christ in that way. And the reality is, I don't hold that over their heads and say, this is a terrible Catholic movie. What I'm saying is it's a good movie. It's a great story. And there are some faults in terms of like what they could have done to make it more overtly Catholic, but at the same time, would they then reach the people that need to see a movie about a positive role model or a person that's going to lead them closer to Jesus? Because that movie never denies the existence of God, never denies that Jesus Christ is her motivation, never denies any of those things.
Or it says anything negative about the Catholic Church.
100%, right? So at the same time, it's like, here's the thing. My end result is I'm going to cut it a lot of slack and say it's a good movie. I enjoyed the movie. I was not upset by it. It didn't could there have been more crucifixes? 100%. They should have put more crucifixes in that movie to be even more accurate in terms of the detail. But the reality is, it wasn't like they don't understand. They don't know what a crucifix is in the way that we do. They don't understand the theology of the crucifix in the way that we Catholics do. And that's why I don't hold that against them. I really don't. It's like they did a pretty good Catholic movie for not being Catholic. Yep. So I advise everybody. You guys thumbs up on this one?
Thumbs up.
Right. We give it 2 thumbs up and go and see it and judge for
3.
yourself. Yes, 3 thumbs up. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
Thanks for listening to the Catholic Cafe. If you'd like to contact Deacon Jeff, send him an email at deaconjeff@thecatholiccafe.com. Visit us on the web at thecatholiccafe.com. You can also find us on iTunes or follow us on Facebook and Twitter. The Catholic Cafe is brought to you by the Order of Malta Federal Association. Join us again at the Catholic Cafe, serving up salvation 1 cup of coffee at a time.